I move the Board of Adjustment reverse the decision of the administrative official and grant the relief requested by the applicant.
It has been moved to reverse the decision and grant the relief requested by the applicant. Is there a second? I need you to say the microphone.
Lawrence Halcombe, second.
It's been moved and seconded. We now have discussion on the motion solely. Ms. Lamb.
I certainly had a change of heart here. It is clear to me now that when going through the CO process, that the applicant did their due diligence, as did the city, in terms of the CPC, working with the city attorney and city council. When I asked the building official whether the 3 pillars regarding the safe harbor provision was taken in consideration with granting the CO, and that was made clear that it was not. To me, that was the one piece that was holding up whether this would move forward or not. And since that was not taken in consideration when granting the CO and the due diligence that was performed initially in the 2 years that it took to grant the CO, I felt that the original CO was in fact correct.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you, Chair. So throughout this whole process, we did hear a lot of legal opinions, but very few facts of law, something that's been established. And so it is a challenge for me to understand why this was reviewed by the city and understand why they think that an error was made the first time. Based on the facts presented to me, I do not believe an error was made the first time. I believe it was done intentionally. And any change of opinion after that fact is not something that is fair to the citizens of the city. Once a decision is like that is made, people make decisions in their life based upon it. And we have an obligation as a board to act in the public's best interest.
Yes.
And so that is why I'm in support of this motion.
Ms. Frankfurt.
I'm pretty disappointed in this process. That it seemed like this was basically, the opinion was changed because of either political reasons or possibly public backlash. It seems very clear to me that the organization of the business is doing what they set out to do, and that they set out to do exactly what was, in these documents, in this land use statement. So there was never a good case made from the city. There was no persuasive argument that new information came to light. I really feel that they had the information. They made the decision. I believe that the business is abiding by all of the rules of the safe harbor law. And again, I think it was political pressure. That's extremely disappointing. So I'm very much in support of this motion.
Thank you, Ms. Frankfurt. Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of this motion. To me, I agree with what Mr. Vincent said, that ultimately it's going to have to be up to a court to decide whether these poker houses violate the Texas Constitution or not. It is not our position to decide the legality thereof. I do think the applicant presented their case with a reason for application forthrightly and did due diligence, and so I will be voting in favor of this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Mike, please. My first comment is that is part of the rules of procedure and the city code, and it's probably state law, if you correct me, that no decision of the board sets precedent for any other case. Correct? Okay. So we are making a decision today based on the facts presented and what the standards are in front of us. My decision, or my vote today, is based on number one, the previous city council zoning action, which approved this type of land use. Two, by the city attorney's statement to the city council on the 23rd of January 2019 that this was a legal use. Three, by the fact that there is zero Dallas Police Department or district attorney criminal investigation or charges or inquiry to date. Number four, the fact that the criteria of the building official initially approving and then revoking 18 months later, that nothing materially has changed since the original. The land use is the same, and that original approval was for commercial amusement inside for a fee. Last but not least, there was no material change in the operation from the affirmative, and that consistent with our criteria, that the affirmative defense of a gambling occurred in a private place, that no person received an economic benefit, and that except for advantage or skill or luck, all the risk of losing and the chances of winning were the same. It is my opinion that this is a legal use, and that I will support the motion to reverse the building official's decision. Discussion, please. Further discussion on the motion. Ms. Lamb.
I will say, and this is not a legal opinion, this is just a suggestion. I would, if I was an operator, look at the tip situation and truly look at if there is economic benefit. This is such a gray area, and that's not for us to really decide here, seeing as the CO was not based on the safe harbor provision. But I would take a look at that if I was an operator and see how we can really put that in silos and make sure that's nice and tight.
Likewise, I'll give an editorial comment that a municipality needs to be careful with issuing a building permit, a certificate of occupancy, and due diligence should be done on the front end so that this sort of community conflict does not occur on the back end. That is what we are all about. Fairness at the beginning and at the end. So, Mr. Holcomb, last comment?
Sorry, while we were on editorial comments, I would like to make the statement, just my personal opinion, that regardless of which side of this issue you fall to, it shouldn't be decided on these hair's edges. Write your legislators, tell them your opinion, and see if you can make the law clear one way or the other, more clear than it is, and maybe zoning boards won't have to hear cases of penal code.
Hearing no more discussion on the motion, there is a motion on the floor to reverse the building official's decision and grant the relief requested by the applicant in BDA 212018. We'll now call the vote.
Mr. Holcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Neary.
Aye.
Ms. Rankford.
Aye.
Ms. Lamb.
Aye.
Chair Newman.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0 in favor of the motion. The motion passes.